Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
We can all agree that game did not hold much value. There was no significance to it. They won the basketball game. They beat the Knicks. That's all it was. That's all it was. They took care of business, and they beat the Knicks. Big picture, this is still the same basketball squad that lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers on the road. All of us, as a city, as a fan of basketball, do not look at this Sixers team now differently just because at home, where they are essentially impossible to beat, they took down a garbage basketball squad in the New York Knicks. Still, though, because this is the beauty of what we do here, I still want to talk about this basketball game. So keep in mind, while discussing the points that occurred in this basketball game, it's just focused on what occurred in the 48 minutes that just happened against the Knicks. That's it. That's it. Because anything that happened in this game doesn't mean a lick when Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons come back and for what it means moving forward. All that matters, though, is they did win. Because imagine if they lost. Think about where they are right now in the standings, battling with the Miami Heat. Think about if they lost. So it is still important that they won the game. It is. We're trying to get a fourth seed in the Eastern Conference. The Sixers are trying to host a playoff series and to make sure that they have home court advantage for at least one series, because if you didn't know by now, they are unbelievable at the Wells Fargo Center. 28-2 in 30 games. Ridiculous. So the substance when it comes to this game, it's not huge, but it is still important that they won the game. The Heat are falling apart. They are collapsing. Now, you can argue the Sixers are too, and they're losing bodies. And that's why, though, every win is important. No matter if it's ugly, no matter if it's pretty, no matter if it's against a trash team, the wins are important. Because if the Heat continue to fall, you got to be able to execute. You got to be able to step over top of them. So the win means something. It does. It means something. It's not huge, but it means something. It doesn't change the outcome of this season, title or no title, because of this win. But it's something. Now, before we break things down, let's hear a word from my sponsor, SeatGeek. I can give you free money. That's right. If you are buying tickets for an NBA game, the Sixers, the NHL, the Flyers, or a concert, use the promo code BROADS. You get $20 off of your total purchase. That is free parking. So make sure you use it today. The promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout. Before the game, there was some controversy going on with Glenn Robinson III and Brett Brown and maybe some miscommunication. There was a report out there that Glenn Robinson III was questioning why he was traded to this team. He doesn't know his role. He's questioning his role. He's worried about his contract. And I'll be honest with you, that comment by him, I think that's poor. Just a poor comment by him. I got a family to take care of. To me, he's focused on getting his, which is fine. That's part of being a professional athlete. Some people have that mindset. Let me get mine. Let me get paid. It's all about the money. Some people have that mindset to take care of their family. Who am I to judge? If I could be making millions of dollars to play any sport, the sport of basketball, hockey, I'd be doing it in a heartbeat. So I get it. I totally get it. But what I took out of that was, and apparently it was taken way too far. That's something Glenn Robinson III said. It was taken out of context, but what I read out of those quotes is when he was in Golden State, he was logging a ton of minutes. He was a starter. He was knocking down shots. He was scoring points, and his stats looked good. That will now affect his future because he's on a contract year, and now he's a role guy with the Sixers. Now, his job when coming here was to knock down threes, be able to play some defense, and to log in minutes off the bench. How many three-pointers did he hit since he's been here? 0. And I'll be honest with you, open looks too, okay? So it's not like he's not getting the opportunities to knock down shots. That's on him. That's on him not executing. For him to question why he's here, I mean, isn't it obvious? We traded, the Sixers traded for you to come help this team on a playoff push. I don't know. I guess it blows my mind that he's confused on why a team like the Sixers would go out and acquire you. You're on a bad team. You're scoring points. The Sixers need bench depth. He's almost pissed off about it. It seems as if he's pissed off about being traded to a team that is capable of winning. I take that for what it is, but he'd rather just go get his, score points, start, and lose every basketball game out in Golden State. Maybe it had to do with the weather. Maybe it had to be about being in California instead of being in this East Coast city like the Sixers that have a toxic fan base right now. I don't know. That's a possibility. When he can just fly under the radar because all the Golden State Warriors fans are just waiting for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson to come back. Who knows? But I did not like what I read when it came to Glenn Robinson III and how he is processing the trade. Because it's kind of simple when you think about it. The Sixers are trying to make a playoff run. They needed bench help, so they went out and got someone who could shoot and score and log some minutes in. I don't know. It seems pretty simple to me. Also, so that was before the game. After the game, instantly, we hear about Joel Embiid, and there's no structural damage, which is huge. He will be reevaluated in 1 week. Just like Ben Simmons, when you see reevaluated, that means nothing, really. It just means... It doesn't mean he's coming back, is my point. He will not be back in 1 week. He's going to get reevaluated, and then we'll learn again what's going to happen and how much more time he will miss. But it's good that there's no structural damage. So let's get on to the basketball game. The New York Knicks stink. That's my assessment. The New York Knicks are horrendous. They are a really bad basketball team. I could not imagine watching that every single night. Now, it's not like the Sixers completely blew them out. There was a stretch throughout the third quarter where they were making a push, but the Sixers were pushing back, and it got somewhat into a reasonable distance for the Knicks, but ultimately the Sixers were in control for 99% of this game, if not 100% of this game, so it wasn't a real threat. The point is, the Knicks still stink, though. The Knicks are not a good basketball team. They're sloppy. They have no flow whatsoever, and it's a bad team. And you could even sense the building not even being hyped for this matchup. It was kind of dull in there, not too much hype. Maybe that has to do with the Sixers being so disappointing right now, and the fact that they lost in Cleveland is a big deal too, and it was yesterday. It wasn't as if it was 3 days ago or something like that. The emotions are still raw. The fans are still so upset. Maybe that has something to do with it, but I think it's a combination of both. The Knicks being garbage and the fact that the fans are upset with the team as a whole, and without Ben Simmons Without Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid in the starting lineup, that brings the hype down as well. Randall scored 30. You had RJ Barrett knock down some points. Who else? Elfrid Payton knocked down some points. Harkless ended up going 5 for 5 from 3 during the game. He ended up missing a couple later on. Regardless, though, the Knicks are a bad NBA basketball team and franchise at the moment. Moving on to the Sixers. Tobias Harris must have been listening to sports talk radio all day because he came out flying, aggressive, putting the ball on the floor, knocking down mid-range shots, knocking down three-point shots. He really was head down, full steam, going hard to the rack, putting the team on his back, and it's everything all the fans and media members were questioning after that loss in Cleveland. How did he not step up? He's getting paid all this money. How did he not put the team on his back? How did he not deliver for the squad against a really disgustingly poor, bad Cleveland Cavaliers team? So I'm telling you, I feel like he read things. He likes to read, right? He read things. He also must have listened to people talking because he was everything that we were discussing one day before. He finished with a really solid stat line, 34 points, 7 assists, and 7 rebounds. The Sixers as a team, listen to this. I'm not making this up. They knocked down 15 of 31 three-point shots. That is 48.4%. That's almost illegal. That's almost impossible for this 76ers team to be able to do that. They don't know how to do that. Really? I mean, come on. They were legitimately knocking down their three-point shots. They also essentially shot 50% from the field as a team. So all around, the shots were going in the net. Let me say this statement again. The Sixers shots, they were going in the net, through the net. It's possible. They are capable. Who knew? Who else had a good outing? Shake Milton. After the game, Brett Brown was asked about Shake Milton, and he praised the development. And he also stated, if this was a tournament, Shake Milton is winning, and he is the starting point guard. Now, keep in mind, that is with Ben Simmons being out. That's not saying Shake Milton is the starting point guard with Ben Simmons being available. This is with Ben Simmons not being available. But he was really praising what he's able to do. Shake Milton was knocking down threes. He was 5 for 5. He also brought some energy defensively. He had 2 blocks and a steal. Now, keep in mind, this is against a New York Knicks team. It's not as if Shake Milton's doing this against the Clippers or the Lakers or things like that. But still, it is nice for him to be able to gain some confidence and for him to be able to run point. The team also talked about being simple and simplifying the game plan without their 2 all-stars. So maybe that helped him and helped Tobias Harris, and maybe that also helped Al Horford, because Al Horford had a strong game as well. Talking about knocking down threes, he was doing that. He almost had a triple-double. He had 15 points, 9 assists, and 7 rebounds. So he was passing the ball. He was making shots. He was grabbing boards. He was delivering for his teammates. He was getting his teammates open looks. It was a really strong performance out of Al Horford, and let's be real, he definitely needed that. Now, there was a funny moment. Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it and how you view it, but he missed a layup, right? So he misses the layup, and here comes the boos crashing down on Al Horford, and it's an awkward feeling. It really is. But instantly, bang, bang, he delivers and knocks down a couple 3-point shots. So just as brutal as the boos were, the appreciation and the cheers, which followed, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds later, it was just as aggressive in the other way. So aggressively bad one moment and aggressively positive the next, and everyone was cheering for Al Horford. And it was nice just to see him being able to play a complete game and not just score, but get his teammates involved and move the basketball well. It was a strong performance out of Al. It would have been great to see him actually log the triple-double and talk about a confidence boost. Not that he needs a triple-double stat line to be the difference in him getting confidence or not. My point is, if he has a game like this, what's the difference on if he actually recorded the triple-double or not? To a veteran like him, he should still feel confident, and I assure you that he definitely gained a little bit of momentum in his personal swagger and approach to the game, just based off of feeling good after a game like this. He needs to get the monkey off the back. So, and knowing Joel Embiid is not there, here's a good opportunity for him. Josh Richardson. See, he made those comments last game about heart. What does the team need? Heart. And it kind of bothered me. I get that is an answer that the fans want to hear, and it's a good storyline that Josh Richardson's calling out the team, and he says the team needs heart. He's not wrong, but he also played like crap against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Like, who is he to say we have no heart when he didn't play with heart? If he played with heart out there, it's a different story, but he didn't. So he didn't play with heart, yet he's saying that's what they need. So, I don't know if I can appreciate that. It definitely loses some value. It gets moved down a couple notches. If he played his ass off, he dropped 20 points, the team gets blown out against Cleveland, and he steps up to the microphone afterwards and looks the camera in the face and says something about heart, totally different story. If he's diving on the ground, grabbing loose balls, making crazy plays, and the team falls apart and nobody else steps up, he has all right to say something like that. But for him to have a performance like he did, no way. I think it loses value. In this game against the Knicks, he did not start out good. He did not score any points until that third quarter started rolling around, and he was really knocking down everything. I mean, he was hitting the mid-range jumpers. He was being aggressive. He also had, it was at the end of the third quarter, a three-point shot that looked good, that would have gave the Sixers a little bit of bounce, but when you looked at the replay, the ball was still in his hand, so it did not count. But he was cooking in the third quarter, and that kept the Sixers involved because the Knicks were going on a push, and the Sixers would answer, and the Knicks would go on a push, and the Sixers would answer. It was back and forth basketball, both teams being able to score. I mentioned how well the Sixers shot from the field. The Knicks shot pretty well as a team from the field overall as well. But the Sixers clearly did more damage from the three-point line and did more damage altogether as a unit. When you look at the bench, I thought some guys stood out. Kyle O'Quinn is making the most of his chances. Really, he really is. And I think he's got a good bounce to his game right now. And he's playing with some jump. He's playing with some jump. He's blocking balls. And he's given that energy. He really is. He's given that energy. And Norvel Pell was out for a couple games, and he came back and was able to go in this one. He did not get run, though. Kyle O'Quinn got the minutes. He was rewarded by Brett Brown, and I think that was the right move. Kyle O'Quinn is showing some heart. I mean, you talk about heart. Josh Richardson talking about heart. Kyle O'Quinn is doing that right now because, listen, he's a veteran. He probably felt like he would have more of a presence this season. He got pushed to the curb a bit. He was sitting on the bench, not getting played, coach's decision, so he gets thrown into the mix, and I think he's fighting for those minutes and knowing that, hey, listen, I got my minutes right now, I can't let them go, so I got to make sure when I'm out there, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it 100%, so I respect Kyle O'Quinn right now. Korkmaz had some run, Matisse Thybulle as well, delivering on some takes to the basket. He was more aggressive in his offensive game that I have seen. Compared to what I have seen out of him recently, I think he was a little bit more aggressive, but that could be due to the matchup and who was on the other side when it comes to the other team playing defense. Burks 2 for 10. Ugly looking night from the statistic standpoint. So, as I stated, we can all agree that this game was nothing other than a win that they need when the Miami Heat are falling and a win that they need to look at that fourth seed and to try and grasp it, to try and stay in the fourth seed spot moving forward, get to that fourth seed spot and stick with it. 28-2 at home. It's crazy. And they now go on a West Coast trip without Ben Simmons, without Joel Embiid. So what is this team really made of? Maybe you got the hungry cats going. Shake Milton, he's a hungry cat, no doubt about it. Maybe you get some guys, like I stated, Kyle O'Quinn, who look at this moment and they want to really make the most of it. Even for someone like Tobias Harris, he's been okay this season, right? I mean, he's been okay this season. Without the two stars, he got paid the big money. Maybe he heard all the noise after the Cleveland game, and here's a chance that he sees in front of him to go on the road when this team can't win on the road. So they get to go on the road without the two stars. This could be a very optimistic view right now, but I'm thinking maybe Tobias Harris looks at this chance and says, I'm going to prove everyone wrong. Now, I wouldn't personally bet money on that. But if I'm feeling optimistic and trying to look in an optimistic way here, maybe. Look, I'm already convincing myself that that's crap. But same with Al Horford. Maybe. Who knows? I think it is a perfect time now to take some phone calls. The 24/7 anytime hotline is open anytime. 856-442-9805 is the phone number. You can leave your message, and it is possible to make the podcast. So let's kick off the calls.
Yo, bros, what's up, bro? I have a problem with our fan base. Al Horford had the most Al Horford game you could ask for. We signed him to do what he did, and we boo him any chance we can get. I understand he's not the best. We expect more, but this game he played great. Why are we booing him when he has a good game? I don't get it. Tell me what you think.
I've been on the record a couple times now talking about Al Horford, and I do think it reached a certain point. It's gotten so ugly, so I do understand the fan base being a little pissed off with him, because it comes down to this, though. He doesn't look engaged. It doesn't look like he's working hard. It doesn't look like he's trying at times, and that's reaching a different level. If you could tell that he was busting himself to the full capacity that he has, and he's working hard, and things aren't going his way, I feel like it's different, but to the eye, it's so hideous. His game is so awful. He's missing wide open looks. He's missing layups consistently now. Defensively, it's as if he's not trying and he's not caring. And the way that it looks to the fans, it's gotten really ugly. Now, I do think it's harsh. I do think it's harsh because you want this guy to succeed, because you need him to do well for this team to do well. It's almost as if fans are rooting for him to fail and wanting him to fail and saying this is the worst thing to ever happen and jumping on it to such an elite level. It is crossing the line, but I do see why it is progressing to that nature, because it's more than just, I can't believe Elton Brand gave this guy the contract. It's coming down to him specifically. And I always claimed that players need to play. The players need to play. And when it comes to Al Horford, he's not doing that. Like, he's not doing his end of the bargain. He doesn't need to be dropping 35 points and grabbing 18 rebounds and doing Joel Embiid-like stuff. But for what he was brought in here to do, he's not even doing that. He's not doing what he was brought in here to do, to be a backup to Joel Embiid, to be serviceable, to be a little bit of spark, to be the veteran presence. He looks so disengaged, and that's why the fan base is so harsh. But I do think it crosses the line. I do.
Hey, bro, great win. Great bounce-back win against the lowly Knicks. I like the energy tonight. This team at home is something else. It really is something else. Tobias came out in attack mode. It's almost like he heard you. He saw your video. He saw your video last night. Al Horford, he had a good outing. Cracks me up when he misses that layup. But he came back strong. I wanted to get your thoughts on this big road trip coming up.
The big road trip coming up scares me. And when you look at it, you see the Clippers, you see the Lakers. You also see teams like Golden State and Sacramento. I think it's Sacramento first and then Golden State. It doesn't matter who it is on the road anymore. I don't care if it's the New York Knicks on the road. I think that this Sixers team could lose games to the New York Knicks in Madison Square Garden. That's how bad they play on the road. So I am extremely nervous for this. It could be another road trip where they go 0-4. 9-21 is no joke when it comes to pathetic efforts on the road. It's abysmal. I mean, there's not even a word that can describe how insanely pathetic it truly is. So without your two all-stars, to expect this team to go out west and to go on the road and to pack victories together and to come back to Philadelphia with solid wins under their belt, it's possible, but I can't expect it. Why would I expect it based off of everything that they have shown in games away from the Wells Fargo Center? But the Al Horford thing is, kind of funny the way you mentioned it. It was good. It was good. That's a little bit better than just good, don't you think?
What's going on, bro? It's Danny. Solid win tonight. Love to see Tobias go off after he played so soft last night. I love to see what Shake Milton going off lately. I just love his story. He's a late second-round guy. He's grinding up in the G League, finally gets an opportunity. And honestly, I feel like he's had more heart than any other Sixers player this season. The other thing, I keep seeing Sixers Twitter crucifying Al Horford again after he missed that layup. And yeah, it was a bad layup. To be fair, he had 15-9-7 tonight, which is one of his better games. Now, for 4-108, 15-9-7 should not be one of his better games, but it was one of his better games. So I will take it. That's all I got. See you, Rhodes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, how about people defending him right now? People defending Al Horford. What? People defending Al Horford? I would have never thought the day would come. And you mentioned his stat line. this is kind of what you expected. Al Horford was never a dominant stat line guy. If he gives you what he gave you in this basketball game, that's kind of what you expected him to get. It would just look differently, though, based off of his effort defensively and based off of doing the little things, maybe getting a couple blocks involved as well. If he gave you a stat line like he gave you in this game and it looked appealing to the eye, that is sort of what you expected from Al Horford, because he was never a guy that just completely destroyed the stat sheet every single night.
Oh, wow. The Sixers beat the Knicks at home. Wow. Cool. Did we really expect anything otherwise? Did we not expect the Sixers to take care of business against the New York Knicks? No, we didn't. We knew what was going to happen. We knew they'd take care of business, but that doesn't change the fact that they're going to go into LA, go into the Staples Center and get their asses whooped 6 ways to Sunday twice by 2 separate teams, especially without Joel and Ben. We all know what's going to happen. They're on the road. We're going to see the fire Brett Brown. He's terrible. He's a clown all over social media. And realistically, do we even have complete confidence that they're going to beat the Kings and the Warriors? This game tonight is insignificant to me, honestly. And because we all know what's going to happen on the road. We all know the issues that are going to happen on the road. And also, I kind of think what Glenn Robinson III said was funny, how he doesn't understand his role with the Sixers. Like, dude, really picked you up as a bench man who can shoot the three, and he's 0% from the three. He has a role, and he's failing at it miserably. Come on, really?
I feel the same way about Glenn Robinson III, honestly. His comments made no sense to me at all. Going to the, oh, wow, and being so sarcastic about the win, I get it. I understand that view. I do feel the same way. I'm not pumped up, stoked, screaming, all happy, and filled with joy because they beat the Knicks because they're supposed to. But they beat the Knicks, and they were supposed to, and they did do that. And looking at the standings, it is important. To an extent, it is important just based off of where they sit right now and what's happening to the Miami Heat. So it is better than them losing. The alternative is them losing. And that can't happen. Let's take our last call.
Hey, bros. I got some comments again on Brett Brown. And I just think that, like you say, that the players play. The coaches, in my opinion, the coaches are supposed to coach. And if the coaches don't coach the right way, then the players don't play for the coach. That's just my personal. I'm not yelling or screaming or anything like that. I'm just saying it's my opinion that at home, it seems like they play for themselves, and they do play for the fans, obviously. They're not doing it for Brett Brown, but once they go on the road, it seems like the players turn off. They don't play for Brett Brown. There's no excuse for not doing it, but they're just not playing for the coach. And I think it's a huge problem. I just watched the interview with Glenn Robinson III, and now there's a problem. I wanted to know your thoughts on the way you think Brett Brown handled the situation with Glenn Robinson. And I appreciate you taking my call. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. And listen, you are entitled to your own opinion. The beauty of sports talk is debating, and, sometimes people get fired up, and I've gotten fired up before in my day. I love how I'm saying that as if I'm some, 60-year-old veteran who's been doing sports talk radio for years and years and years. But yeah, the beauty of sports talk radio is debating and things like that. So I'll say this. I wrote something down that you stated throughout the whole call there, and it was, when they're at home, they play for themselves and the fans, right? So you mentioned them playing for themselves, and they're not playing for Brett Brown in those moments. But when you talked about on the road, you said they're not playing for Brett Brown. Why aren't they playing for themselves, though, right? That's the point I'm getting at here. They should be playing for themselves at home and on the road, and they're not playing for themselves on the road, but that's their fault. And a lot of people would come back and say the coach's job is to get them going, and that is true to an extent. We are talking about professional athletes. This is no longer youth sports. When it reaches pro basketball in the National Basketball Association, there's no rah-rah and cheering and woohoo, let's go, fellas, let's go compete. It is on the players who are getting paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to get themselves up to play the game. Now, when it comes to Brett, I personally believe at this point the message ran dry. So I do believe the message ran dry, and he's been here for a long time, and the way the players view him, sometimes it just runs its course, and I think that has happened with Brett Brown. But no matter what coach comes in, no matter what coach is available to coach this team down the road, if Tobias Harris isn't playing for himself, then it doesn't matter. If Ben Simmons isn't playing aggressive because he doesn't want to, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It comes down to if the players are willing to compete. That's all it does. I mean, that's all it comes down to. With Brett Brown coaching, if Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid wants to compete, they win the game more than likely, and Brett Brown looks good. And if they don't compete, they probably lose the game, and Brett Brown looks bad. So it just comes down to the competition level of the players playing the game. That's how I view it when it comes to basketball. I think there's something to be said about the way it's a players' league in basketball and how important one person is and how important these star players are to basketball teams. I think when it comes to coaching in basketball, it's a different outlook compared to, say, football, compared to, say, hockey, or what a manager does in baseball. And that's the way I see it, and that's my opinion on it. But I'm not here to say you can't think another way. You absolutely can, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion. So, with that being said, I think we are going to end the podcast here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I will see you next time.